after I was jumped, the first person I reached out to was he was just a little older me. Just call him Crazy Angel, and me and him used to ride lowrider bikes together and all that stuff. And we're all over the place. I don't know why, how, what, but we're in East LA on the boulevard, all these places. But Torres reached out and he started showing me the tricks of the trades. You know what I mean? Of the gang life, and with him and my homeboy Mike Trejo, my homeboy Borcho, Eddie Duke. A lot of us had protection, and for me, I always start off 12 gauge, man, seven pump. That's all. It was always with me, you know, and that's all I can say really from then on, because that's what I had back then. Yeah, man, you know, I think not just us, but I think every neighborhood had their protection, and that's what it was back then. You know, you have to protect yourself. It was a crazy time of the year of that time, man. When the 80s came, the 70s came, gangs were, it was deep. People, murders after murders. When the 80s came, it changed the scenery. What I'm saying is that nobody really was not putting no more gang banging was in. People were listening to the new cut, the hip hop, the R&B. People started to cruise the boulevard in a different way. Mini trucks were coming in, Sentras, lowriders were going out slowly, and so it changed the whole atmosphere. And you could talk to a lot of the homies too, because today they'll tell, man, the only why they went to the thing because they were girls, man. You know what I mean? You go in the backyard, big backyard party, 3-4 kegs, $2 to get in, pump that sucker up, and it was on, and you got your encouragement on, and you think you're sweet daddy, and you want to talk to the roquitas and all that, but that's how things started changing. So yes, gang life, 70s started dying out. They were still there, but dying out. But then party crews started coming in. As they're coming in, and see, remember, our family's still part of neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Gang life, and so the younger brothers trying to find, okay, I want to do something different, and this was what happened. The Fat Boys, Run DMC, all Curtis Blow, all these groups started coming in, and it started changing the atmosphere of the 80s. And the 80s was a whole different era, man, where don't get me wrong, there were still there were backyard shootings, people were still from neighborhoods, but hanging out undercover, not undercover, the dressing was just a little different, bro, but they were still from the neighborhood, But hanging out with my cousin Arnold from Norwalk, one day they lived on 162nd Street, right next to Hiroshima Park. And one day I came to his house. He just got out of the joint, and this was in the 80s, bro. And I walked in his garage, and he was always into oldies. I was into oldies and all that, but more the doo-wop. But when I heard Spow from Blue Magic, what's that? I asked him, what's that? And he goes, oh man, this is Spow from Blue Magic. I said, I never heard that before. I heard, Sideshow and all the other stuff, but never heard Spow. That right there really changed my whole momentum about music, about this is a different kind of music, soul music, that it's gonna kind of change the whole dynamic. Little bit know that there was stuff out there already, didn't even know a lot of that stuff existed. So that right there changed my life. This is back in 86, 85, and that would really change my life towards soul music. So he was the first one kind of introduced that to me. Once again, music comes straight from the barrio, you know what I mean? That's where you're learning that stuff from. When I was in junior high school, again, okay, back to got jumped, gang life and all that stuff, but still in junior high school at the 8th grade, I see my one of my homie, Paul Rodriguez, today they call him Champagne Explosion. It was back then in the 80s, you know, like the rock of the 80s and all that stuff. I seen him up on stage DJing, and that's where it opened my eyes. Like, man, I want to do that. I mean, it was burning my heart because you had the music, it was perfect. I go, I want to do that, you know. And that's when I started buying records for, you know, that era of the 80s, you know, hip hop and R&B. The first LP I bought really was Sugar Hill Gang. You know what I mean? Rapper's Delight. You know. I was about 13 years old when I picked up that record. Got on my 10-speed, rode all the way to Weeder Downs, you know, at least 3 miles down to the record store back then. You know, working for the city back then, you know. Summer jobs, you know, so save all your money, start building your little collection. But my first record was the Sugar Hill Gang, bro. The reason why I bought the Sugar Hill Gang record is because during that time, you know, hey, popping was coming in, all that crazy dancing was coming in, and all that. And if you know how to do that, you're in junior high, you got the ladies, bro. You know what I mean? You're walking around with your head freaking this big, somebody popping, you know. But that sound was perfect for what you wanted to do. Not only that, it was a good mix because the claps, the beats was a good mix. So yeah, man, Sugar Hill Gang, they put a big stamp on my life. Yeah, in high school, my dad bought me my first equipment, and back then, you didn't know too much. I know Techniques turntables were out, man. They were very expensive for us back then, and all that. But I had some Yamahas and a Newmark mixer, and we're using that, which is cool, you know. But again, you're 16 years old, trying to put something together. And then I had a friend, he had all the speakers, and you know, he had a little more money than I had, so. You know, his parents bought him his Techniques turntables and all that. So what we did, we put our equipment together and just put out flyers. Back in the days, you would put flyers out. Hey, party over here, this and that, and hey, $2 to get in. And it was so funny, bro. It's so funny is that my homies, my best friend, you know, he his dad was involved with our party and all that. He the one bought us 3 cakes and tied them up, you know, and all that, and he was serving beer, man, to teenagers out the window, you know, and so he was all involved, and I'm laughing because the dad's there passing out beer, and people are just coming in like, hey, that back there was packed, bro. So we made like $800 that night, you know. I mean, spend like $200 on a keg of beer, he came up with $600, you know. And then a lot of times after that, you know, like when you made enough money. And it's crazy, it's a joke, but when you made enough money and you felt that the party, you know, before something happens, you call the cop and they'll come and pick up the party, bro. But that's what it was, bro. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's kind of gotcha, but you know something's gonna pop. So you get the cops on before it pops, and you don't have that trouble in your house, you know, you don't get marked for that trouble. Before that party that night, we had a DJing party at my house. My parents' house. So remember, my dad, he's a Christian man now, so we're older now. And my mom supposed to go to work, and she didn't. And that day, I'm like, oh man, what is she doing home? You know? And then and like people started coming over, and my mom like, what's going on? I go, okay, mom. Hey, we're having a DJing party. We're having a DJing party now. Then we're gonna have another party at night. And she was cool with it, bro. You know, she was cool with it. Everybody back there was packed, man. Beers were flowing. Everything was popping. You know what I mean? My mom and he was out there dancing with everybody. Like, what? You know what I mean? So I mean, that was good time. Good time. And so all that was all good. And then we went into the night, and we went to the party, man. And so those are good days, man. Good times, man. Good times. But yeah, that's what it was, man. Back then, we used to get together and backyard boogie.